What's up, everyone? Janitor Jake here. Now see, like I've said before, I'm actually a pretty big Bubsy fan. I grew up playing the first two Bubsy games on my Sega Genesis console, and I absolutely love them, especially the first game. That game became one of my most favorite games of all time. Now, I never knew about this as a kid, but I did find out in more recent years that a third Bubsy game came out for the Atari Jaguar, and I thought that was absolutely awesome. However, throughout the world of the internet, I heard a bunch of random jibber-jabber about how bad and terrible Bubsy Fractured Furry Tales is. Oh, it's just a horrible game, nothing but a big pile of trash. And I thought it was just a bunch of morons running off at the mouth, talking crap about Bubsy because it's cool to hate on Bubsy. That was until I actually played it. So, now that I set the tone for the video, let's get to my review of Bubsy Fractured Furry Tales. Now, even before I got a chance to play it, this game gave me problems. For starters, I don't own an actual console or a game physically, and if I wanted to, I would have to shell out about $550 on eBay to get both of them. I've even tried the local game stores, and they don't even have them. And with the coronavirus in full effect, it's not like I can go to the local game shops anyway. And all the idiots out there will say, well, you can always order online from the local game stores. Yeah, well, I can't order what they don't have. Duh! So, of course, the next step is emulation, which for me personally, I absolutely hate. But you gotta do what you gotta do. So my friend Maniac Matt told me to get Virtual Jaguar on the PC and play the game that way. And this is how it plays. This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. This is so epic. I'm serious. I've never seen anything this awesome. I mean, look at this. I mean, just so great. Look at that. Look how awesome this is. Wow, like, I just can't believe it. I've never seen an emulator play this amazing before. Wow. Seriously, just wow. So I told my friend, Maniac Matt, that because my computers are about, 100 years old, they can't handle the emulation. So 10 years later, he told me to try out the Phoenix emulator. So after going to Harvard and Yale and studying quantum mechanics and all the philosophical implications, I was finally able to get the Phoenix emulator on my computer, and it ran great. However, I ended up running into another snag. Now, I absolutely hate playing console games with the keyboard, especially platformers. So I decided, hey, you know what? I have my old Xbox 360 controller that I could plug in via USB. That should work, right? So I decided to grab that thing and plug it in. However, the universe thought it would be hilarious to not actually let it work. Oh, it decided to plug in and tell me, hey, you know what, we got all the drivers and everything's downloaded on your PC because, a Microsoft controller would work perfectly fine with a Microsoft computer. And it said it did. All the drivers are there. Everything's working perfectly fine. I don't know why you're not playing it. Well, I don't know, because every time I try to use the stupid thing, it doesn't seem to work. So you know what? Fine. To heck with ya. I'm going to go with your competitor, Sony. So I go and grab my Sony PS3 controller that I can plug in via USB. So after going back to Harvard and after going back to Yale, I finally got my PS3 controller installed on my PC, and it works absolutely perfect. So without further ado, let's get to my review of Bubsy Fractured Furry Tales. So the basic storyline is actually extremely basic. All it really says is that the fairy tale world got all screwed up and Bubsy has to go and fix it. That's it. I mean, seriously, that's it. The first Bubsy game had a storyline via comic book in the actual manual, and the second game, Bubsy 2, did the exact same thing. But of course they were like, no, we're not going to do anything cool like that. Even the manual itself is black and white, which goes to show how lazy they were when it came to this project. So with that being said, let's check out the actual game itself. And to start things off, I'm going to be talking about the things that I don't like. For starters, the stages themselves are way too large and mazy. For me personally, I am not a fan of maze-type games. I don't like games where I can easily get lost, but have a very difficult time getting back on track. Now, Bubsy 2 was pretty maze-like, however, the stages were not extremely large, like they are in Fractured Furry Tales. Let me show you what I mean. So this is the basic stage layout of Bubsy 2. You know, it's kind of shaped kind of like a nice little square, and then somewhere around here, you know, you have the exit. And you might have some platforming, you might even have a couple little walls and stuff like that. You know, and you kind of take your time and bounce around, fight some enemies, but eventually you make it to the exit. There you go. Cool. Buck, buck, buck. Now, this is the basic stage layout of Bubsy Fractured Furry Tales. You got this big, giant, massive square. Over here, a teeny tiny little exit somewhere, and you got platforms, and you got walls and stuff like that. And then you jump over here, and then you find an exit door, and then no, there's a door over here that's blocking something off. So then you gotta find the door opener over here, and it takes you to the door, but that door is closed. Instead, it opened the door that's over here, and then there's something over here, and there's stuff all over the place. Now, usually, I would not mind if the stages were that large or that mazy, because I like going around, taking my time, exploring, and finding secrets and stuff like that. However, the reason why it's such a big pain in the butt is because the enemies themselves are a big pain in the butt. Number one, the hit detection is absolutely horrible. It's hard to explain unless you actually play the game, but you have to be absolutely perfect with your attacks. If you're slightly off, you're gonna be the one taking damage and dying. One of the worst examples are the platforms and the flamingos. If you try to bonk him on the head, you will get lucky and kill him, or Bubsy will snap to the platform where the flamingo will touch you and you die. Another issue are enemies and projectiles that come flying out of nowhere. Now you think, well, okay, you know, just take your time, relax, and use the look button to look around and see what's coming up. Okay, you know, okay, fine. Everything looks good, you know, nothing can possibly go wrong. And this is the type of garbage that the game does. I want to sit back and relax and take my time and explore. And when I'm like, okay, well, what's over here? Boom, smack! I get hit by a bee. I'm okay, what's over here? Boom, smack! Hit by something else. So then it turns the game into nothing but a big giant piece of memorization. And speaking of memorization, you have to memorize where the stupid little door openers are. So you have these doors that have spikes on them that you have to go through. However, in order to open them, you have to find these little door openers and trigger them to open the door. The problem is trying to find out which opener opens which door, and sometimes you have to make complete leaps of faith in order to find the stupid things. So unless I'm just a big giant stupid, I have not been able to find any bonus stages in this game so far. In the first Bubsy game, you would ride on these lava slides collecting yarn balls. In the second game, Bubsy 2, you would have various mini-games you could play. However, in Fractured Furry Tales, there are no bonus levels as far as I can tell. Alright, now since I talked a lot about the things that I don't like, I'm actually going to go and talk about a few things, that I do actually like. Wow, no way, wow, no way. No way, no way, no way. One thing I thought was cool was that the game takes place in Fairy Tale Land. I don't know, I just think it's a cool concept having a Bubsy game take place in the fairy tale universe. The first world takes place in Wonderland, which is of course from Alice in Wonderland. The next world is Bubsy and the Beanstalk, which is of course from Jack and the Beanstalk. The third world is Bubsy and the Arabian Night, which is based off of Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves. Next up is Water Bubsy, which is apparently based off of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And the final world is Bubsy and Gretel, which is of course based off the story of Hansel and Gretel. The next thing I like is the different variety of bad guys. You have flamingos, who are punk, cause you know, punk's not dead. Then we have wasps, playing cards, slimy snails, suits of armor, army ants, cool cacti, mirage water beetles, weight-dropping vultures, desert snakes, lizards, stabbing shark, electric eels, hamster submarines, custard pie machines, and cutlery man. And many, many more. Now that's one thing that I always thought the Bubsy games were really good at, and that was the enemy variety. They always made sure they were very unique, and there were lots of them. Now the other thing that I like from the original two Bubsy games that they brought over into Fractured Furry Tales is the facial expressions and the animation. I just love the cartoony aspect of it, and I thought they did a pretty doggone good job. One of the new things is Bubsy's facial expressions as he is running uphill, and I thought it was actually pretty cool. And speaking of looks, I thought the bosses actually looked pretty awesome. In Bubsy 1, the only boss battles were against woolies in ships, until the final boss, which is a two-headed woolly. And Bubsy 2 didn't even have boss fights until the final boss, Oinker P. Ham. Unless you count this little section when you do the world tour. So it is pretty cool to actually see some legit bosses this time around. And the final thing that I like is that it has the spirit of Bubsy. He still has his quirky attitude and sayings.
Who do I look like, Flipper?
You still have the goofy death animations. They also brought back the banana crates, a big ball full of points, and the different t-shirts. Now in Bubsy 1 you collected yarn balls, and in Bubsy 2 you collected marbles. However, in this one they call them colored Bubsy balls. Okay. Alright, so that was Bubsy Fractured Furry Tales on the Atari Jaguar for you. Now the thing is, I did not really go in depth like I usually do with most of my game reviews and most of my other movie reviews. But the thing is, I really was not feeling it when I was playing this thing. When I sat down to play it, it felt like it was a chore. It felt like I was getting up and going to work. Oh, gotta go to work now. Oh, sit down and play this game. I really did not feel like playing it. And that's not how video games should be. Video games should be fun. You should be able to sit down and play it and enjoy it. And like I said, it felt like a chore trying to play this game and capture footage for it. Now granted, it could be because I was playing it on an emulator. It might have actually been different if I had the console itself sitting in the living room, you know, where I could sit down and chill out and play it. And that actually, for me personally, that's how I believe games should be played, especially console games. Console games should be played where you set it up, you're in the living room, you sit down with a plate of food, you eat, you play a little bit, maybe play for about an hour or so. You beat a stage, you get done, cool. Put it away. You know, go watch a movie, go do whatever, go to bed. You get up, you go to work, you come home, you do whatever. End of the day, you sit back down. Hey, cool, Bubsy. Put it in, you relax, you chill out, and you play it. Slow. And it's awesome that they have a password feature in there, because that really helps out a lot. You know, and like I said, the stages are just way too big and mazy, and the enemies are a little bit too hard to deal with. Two negatives don't make a positive. I would not mind if the stages were big and mazy, as long as the enemies were easier to deal with. I wouldn't mind the enemies being as difficult if the stages were a lot smaller and it wasn't as long to get through. It literally took me close to about 45 minutes to complete the first stage. And that's me sitting back, relax, hey cool, let's explore and take my time. But it was 45 minutes to beat the first stage. And there are 15 stages in this game. What the heck? That's what I'm talking about. I want to take my time, I want to relax, I want to play the game and casually get through it. I'm just not allowed. Atari Jaguar decided, no, you know what? We want the game to be Nintendo hard. That's what we want it to do. We want it to be Nintendo hard. We want to be the next Nintendo. And that's what I mean. I want to take my time and explore, and I don't want to die every 40 seconds and have to keep starting back over at the checkpoint. If I wanted to do that, I could grab my old Nintendo and find a bunch of stupid games on there to play to do that. If I wanted to punish myself, I could do that. I wanted to chill out with Bubsy. Bubsy 1 on the Sega Genesis, amazing. Bubsy 2 on the Sega Genesis, awesome. Bubsy Fractured Furry Tales on the Jaguar, That's what it is. Nothing but a big pile of hogwash nonsense. It makes you want to explore and check out the game, but at the same time, they're like, no, enemies up your butt, enemies up your hind end, enemies smacking you left and right. Oh, by the way, you got a time limit. Hey, you got to memorize the game. But like I said, it would probably be easier and better for me if I had the actual console and I could sit back, relax, take my time, and play the game, and then it would probably be worth it. But it's not worth the $550 I have to spend on eBay to get it. So whatever. Before I have an aneurysm, I think I'm going to end the review. So whatever. I'm Janitor Jake, and I will see you guys next time. Turning into Jim Cornette here. About ready to have a bloody nose.
Unread video message. 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 Unread video.
Hi, Chris. It's me. Well, it's you. From the future. Of an alternate dimension. Anyway, I just thought I'd send you a little message to let you know that I sent you an email detailing the key to time travel. Now, whatever you do, do not let this fall into the wrong hands. Alright, have a great day.
Finally, I can rid the world of Bubsy forever.